Welcome to what we expect will be a periodic update for you, the members and donors, Common Cause. My name is Elton Johnson. I've had the privilege of serving as chair for a while with a very engaged board. And to my right, I guess your left perhaps, is Corie Tanida, our amazing executive director. You've probably heard of her or met her. I'm here to facilitate a bit today, and Corie's going to take the lead. I'd also like to recognize the other members of the board of Common Cause Hawaii. Nikki Love Kingman, a former executive director, James Koshiba, Jared Kuroiwa, Ian Lind, Brody Lockhart, Kathleen Luschek, Larry Meacham, Barbara Polk, and Ben Trevino. It's been a privilege to work with them. They're true champions, volunteers for good government, every one of them. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization committed to open and accountable government in the public interest. Serving the public interest is the focus. And I mean, the first words in our U.S. Constitution are "We the people." And in Common Cause, we are focused on participation of the people in our democracy, as well as accountability of our elected and appointed representatives in government. We're focused mainly on process issues of late, the groundwork for democracy, if you will. Before I hand it over to Corie, I just wanted to give you a quote from John Gardner, the founder of Common Cause. Back in 1970, he wrote, talking about the term Common Cause, "The things that unite us as a people are more important than the things that divide us. No particular interest group can prosper for long if the nation is disintegrating." These are troubled times. We see it every day in the news, and we hope that we're filling an important role to try and improve our democracy. With that, I wanted to mention for housekeeping items, if you could keep your camera off during this presentation, and a little later we will be taking questions from the chat box, so we hope you'll make use of that as well. Welcome, and Corie, it's all yours.
Thanks, Elton. As Elton said, I'm Corie Tanida, and I'm the Executive Director of the Common Cause Hawaii chapter here. And I will have been ED for a year come August, so pretty soon, but I've been with Common Cause for over 4 years now. But in my first year as ED, I had two really big priorities for me. One was to increase communication, and two is to increase participation. And I think they go hand in hand. So increasing communication, that's not just Elton and I telling you guys, hey, this is what's going on, this is what we think is important. It's also about you telling us, hey, this is what's affecting our communities, this is what I think you should be prioritizing, this is what I'm willing to help you submit testimony, I'm willing to help call a legislator, and so forth. You know, it's absolutely a two-way street. And I think as we, increase our communication, more people understand the issues that are affecting us and how it affects them, because I really think there's actually a really big disconnect there. And, as more people understand how it's affecting them and how they can take action, then that's when we're going to see more participation. And I think we have. Just for example, this year in 2017, we saw about 5 times more testimony for our issues, Common Cause issues like voting by mail, than we did in 2016. So I think that is awesome, and I think that's wonderful and speaks volumes to what you folks can do and the power of people. And I know right now the spotlight is on national issues, rightly so, as Elton said, new issues coming out practically every day. And I think that speaks, power of Common Cause, how, awesome it is that we have grassroots organizations across the country, 35 state chapters, including one here in Hawaii, and we have our headquarters based in DC. So we do have a team on the ground there, and fighting those battles right there, and you get those updates directly from them. But with that said, I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on our local and state issues and how they can affect those national issues as well, because we see it every day. It's unprecedented partisan fighting, stalemates in Congress. So we need to look for avenues that we can take action and be effective in. So I'm going to highlight a couple of things we did last year. I'm going to pull up a couple of slides really quick, because I am personally a very visual person. And so hopefully, you guys might be, the same. And slideshow, okay. And, voting, some of the highlights that we did last year, one of the big things, and I'm hopefully that you guys have already heard me talk about quite a bit, is voting modernization, in particular voting by mail and automatic voter registration. So voting modernization in general is not new to Common Cause. I don't know if you remember 2012 under Nikki Love, we helped advocate for online voter registration, which is something we think of as a no-brainer today. But because we do all of our banking and all of that online, but we did have to advocate and fight for that. And this is the same thing, voting by mail and automatic voter registration. This is about reducing barriers to voting and, making it more accessible. And, so for voting by mail, for us, this is about, more access and increasing turnout. States that have voting by mail, studies have shown turnout has increased. And Hawaii, notoriously known, we're always last in voter turnout in pretty much all time. And so we need to look for solutions to this, and voting by mail could be that. And by the way, it would save the state money, as with automatic voter registration. As with automatic voter registration, this for us is about, increasing efficiency and actually security. Because if we have, we're actually using technology, our voter rolls are updated in real time, then, that's what's actually going to make our elections more secure versus than, say, the Election Integrity Commission, who you might recall, they're the ones that recently requested voter data from all 50 states. So, it's these kinds of concrete reforms that we can, initiate here at the local level that does have an effect on national issues as well. So, briefly looking at other policy wins, some of the bigger ones that we've had, Campaign Spending Commission is now generally funded, as it should be. This is huge. In a nutshell, what happened is for the past decade or so, the legislature has been using the Hawaii Election Campaign Fund, which is supposed to only fund our public funding program, to also fund the Campaign Spending Commission, their salaries, and even like their Xerox expenses. And so because of this added strain, this fund was never supposed to fund both things. The fund is so close to depletion. And thankfully, the legislature took action and had them generally funded. So now we're able to save our public funding program. If nothing had changed, the commission would probably have had to announce the cancellation of our public funding program later this year, and then followed shortly after by the commission itself getting shut down if, again, nothing had changed, but thankfully this did. So now that we saved the program that we had, now we're able to look ahead and improve upon what we had. Other update policy wins that we had, or Sunshine Law update. This was huge, first major update in 20 years. And this is, again, bringing it to the 21st century, right? We now, commissions and agencies, they have to post things online with their minutes, and now we have access to board packets now. And, now they don't have to send it by certified mail. So again, bringing it up to where we are in our lives, utilizing technology. Lobbyist update, that one, tightening up the definition of a lobbyist, and also, increasing fines. And this was great, to be able to work with the Ethics Commission on this. Like, these small reforms, these are going to make a difference in the long run. And then stopping attacks on our judiciary. It's Common Cause, we absolutely believe in fair and impartial courts, and that our judges and justices, they need to make decisions objectively and based on the law, and not be influenced by outside forces, for example, like those with deep pockets. And, there were various proposals over the past couple of years regarding this. And thanks to you guys responding to our calls for help, because of that big wave, it was stopped pretty early in the process right after the first hearing. So again, I think that speaks to people power. I know I'm going through this a little bit quickly, but we do want to, get to your questions and give as much time to that as possible. So if you have
we do want to encourage you to use the chat box and ask us some questions if you have some.
Yeah, so please do. I'm happy to talk about these. I can go on about these all day. I had to practice to actually cut this short, but you can also find more information about these bills, and you can read about the bills themselves on our website, hi.commoncause.org. But, looking ahead, so first thing we did when we were looking and planning ahead was let's take a member survey. And so first of all, thank you to each and every one of you who took it. Over 100 people replied, which is huge because that gives us a really good data set. And so we actually have, valuable, usable data. One of the things I wanted to highlight from this is how awesome you guys are. This is what this slide is absolutely about. Look at this. 44% of you have, signed a petition or emailed your legislator. That's huge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And almost a quarter of you have called your legislator, right? And a fifth of you submitted testimony, and then others attended our events. I mean, this is only a snapshot of what you guys do. I couldn't fit all the actions that you attend, rallies and all of that. I just didn't have space. But I mean, this shows why Common Cause is able to do what we do because of you. We are a grassroots organization. Our influence does not come from me, it doesn't come from Elton or the rest of the board. It absolutely comes from you. So this is really just thank you so much. And, I hope we need to continue this and in fact grow it, and then we'll be able to get even more done. Excuse me. So another question that we asked on the survey was, your level of interest on these issues. I do apologize, we did have some technical difficulties on this question, but we will get that straightened out for next time. So thank you for bearing with us. But this is really interesting in and of itself. I mean, so look at the first issue. The one that received the most votes for very important was requiring presidential candidates to release their tax returns. But interestingly, this issue also received the most votes for least important. So that's something for us to, take into consideration when we're working on these things. Second and third place, pretty close, were voting modernization, so voting by mail and automatic voter registration, and publicly funded elections. I already talked about voting, but again, I can talk about that all day, so you just let me know. You put it in that chat box. And then I'll be talking about publicly funded elections in just a little bit. And then rounding out the pack are, fair courts, strengthening our ethics laws, and then, improving our open meetings laws. And for me, just because we had some wins in our ethics laws and our open meetings laws, that doesn't mean that, they're perfect and, they can't use any more improvement. We can work on that. And then as for fair courts, we do expect this to come up in some shape or form, just not sure what form yet. Again, there were some articles in the paper that already kind of referenced that legislators might feel that certain court rulings were legislative overreach or judicial overreach, excuse me. And so, just based on that, we suspect there's going to be some threats to that again. But looking ahead long term, we're still exploring our options and strategy here and doing our due diligence and homework. But three big things that we know are coming down the line and we are going to be working on are public funding. Again, since we were able to save the program that we have, now we can look to expanding the program that we have. Public funding is a viable solution to money in politics, which we absolutely need to reduce. And this would affect a whole other plethora of issues, quite frankly. And with public funding, there's quite frankly a lot of options going on since the last time that we pushed improvement rather than saving the one that we have. So for example, Hawaii has a 1-to-1 match right now. other models, New York has a 6-to-1 match, and even Seattle, for example, they have a voucher program, which is interesting. They give, 4 $25 vouchers to registered voters. So there was an article recently of how candidates, they have to approach homeless voters because they had vouchers too. So that's just an interesting, new component to this that we're still learning about and exploring our strategic options for this. Redistricting, 2020 census is right around the corner. And so we know that there's, some issues that arose from the last time redistricting happened right after 2010 census. And so, now's the time to bring them up again and to address them. We can't wait another 10 years, and we've seen what other states have done with redistricting. Lucky we live in Hawaii, have extreme partisan gerrymandering here, but we still need to be vigilant, and we still need to have strong procedures and laws in place to prevent these kinds of things from happening. And then conflicts of interest. Now, this is a huge issue bucket here. And so again, we're still exploring our strategic options for this, because this could, easily entail presidential tax disclosure laws, or, revolving door, or, our conflicts of interest with our local officials and so forth. So again, this is a really broad topic, and I'll bet this will have to address this also at the national level with our administration. Right, Elton?
That's right.
Yeah. And, unprecedented things that we just haven't even predicted yet. But conflicts of interest have obviously come up quite a bit.
We just want to know that our elected representatives, including the president, are serving the public interest, not special interests or their own financial interests.
Absolutely. And so with that, I think we're going to open it up to questions. Let me exit out of this.
Made excellent time.
Thank you. I actually, believe it or not, I was a lot longer before.
So I think we're drawing both from chat box and from earlier questions submitted in writing in response to a survey that we sent out. I think maybe the first question is one from the survey that I'd like to pose, Corie, is whether there's anything to be done to reform our dysfunctional legislature. Now, of course, that touches on almost everything you just said, but if you have any further words on that, it's a definite vexing issue.
Yes. What a broad question. This is from Nancy. Yeah. Hi, Nancy. But it's a very great question. It's something that we get kind of a lot, actually, and this is something that we at Common Cause have been discussing for a long time. I know from day one, since I joined over 4 years ago, and even before then. So, and from what I've been told when I talk to my predecessors and the people that have been in this fight for a lot longer, they're like, it's actually better than what it was, but still far from where we need it or want it to be. With that said, again, I think the reforms that we are working on would help to solve some of this, but particularly one of the most complaints I hear about is conference committee and the lack of transparency, and just nobody in the public knowing what's going on, why things happened and things like that. So we're still exploring those options. If you folks have any ideas, hey, remember, communication's a two-way street here. Please, let us know. But I think, for us, it's more about people power that we can do in our hands. If more people are, looking and participating, and asking those questions, why did you do this? Then our legislators and lawmakers, not just legislators, but also our local lawmakers, are more inclined to go ahead and give an actual explanation rather than just sweeping it under the rug. As the old saying goes, right? The best, disinfectant is sunshine, and the only way that we can do that is by actually participating. But then our other reforms, like we said, for voting, if more people are voting, Common Cause, we believe that more people vote, the more representative our democracy is. So, it's participation at all levels of government, at legislature, at city councils, at national level, voting in itself. So, it's all about just getting in there and just making sure our democracy responds to us.
Thanks, Corie. We've received some questions that are very special questions about particular issues, and I wanted to acknowledge those and to just let you know we do see your questions. These are about things like toxic chemical spraying and Fukushima radiation and many other questions, including things like Ho'opili development and so on. These are all very important issues in Hawaii and nationally. I just want to say that I think, and you step in and fix what I'm trying to say, but I think we're trying to lay the groundwork for you to bring those questions to our legislative bodies and to other governmental offices and bodies. And we're trying to protect that ability to have a voice in our democracy and to participate. Maybe won't be addressing some of the specific issues, at least at present, that have been raised. I just want to let you know that.
Right, and then just to add on, because we work on process-related issues, we do believe that it does affect other ones. For example, if we can get, full public funding program going on and reduce the influence of money in politics here, then, hopefully it'd be more, our democracy would be more responsive again to us, the people, rather than special interests. And then just to follow up, I did see Melinda's question in the chat box of compassion in dying. How can we hold our legislators accountable even though it received a lot of public support? Again, I think that's people power that needs to step in and demand that accountability. Follow up with your specific legislators, ask them why, and if they don't tell you why, then you can follow up with that and have more people in your community join you. Specifically, we also have workshops and stuff. I know you guys are a little bit more advanced and you guys know how to submit testimony and whatnot, but we do have workshops and trainings to give a refresher course. And of course, you can use all of those tools to go ahead and work on other issues, even if Common Cause doesn't work on it specifically. But I wish we could, but sometimes we just need to prioritize a little bit. So
Corie is the paid staff in Common Cause Hawaii. That's it. So we're focusing on process. Our hope is that with public funding in the future, we're going to have a world where legislators are responsive to you and maybe a little less responsive to the people who are the special interests who are paying so much in their campaigns and stuff. I wanted to acknowledge this follow-up question from Nancy. You probably see it. Regarding the dysfunction question in the ledge, it's evident that shame and ridicule don't work, nor bad publicity. So aside from putting people in stock, what can we do?
Do you have a stock, Nancy? No, just kidding. Right, we don't just want to highlight, just the bad shenanigans that are going on. We cannot just lead with the stick per se, right? They're people too, and they do go in with good intentions and they do good stuff, but it's just not always highlighted. And I do feel for them for that. That's not to say that everything is on that they're doing that I completely agree with, but we do need to recognize those positive works as well. But I do think sometimes using the stick does make a difference. Just for example, we have seen, since Common Cause and the League of Women Voters do a annual Rusty Scalpel Award, which basically gives an award to the bill that was butchered.
Got it in replaced.
There's major procedural problems. You know, they're going to get 3 readings, or the title doesn't match the content, or something like that. And so there's actually been, since we started doing this, there's actually been somewhat of a reduction in the bills that have gone to this. So we will be coming out with a new winner shortly, and it does look like it's going to be a bit of a doozy. It has some big problems with it, but so keep an eye out for that. But you know, at the same time, we do recognize, and we do talk with our legislators, and it's important to thank them. For example, you know, like our House Committee on, was it Water, and they started the program on trying to do video conferencing, you know, to accept testimony, and it was a pilot program. So we need to acknowledge when they do good stuff like that too. So
yeah. So
sorry, I was a little bit all over the place.
yeah, this is a dialogue. So if anyone else on this call has something to say to Nancy about what else we could do,
yeah,
besides shaming, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I'll just ask another question from the survey. Would you have more local activities to resist and protest unethical national political behavior? That's a question from one of our members earlier in the survey.
Yes. In a word, yes, I think we will. Unfortunately, I don't see this kind of going away anytime soon. The challenges that we're seeing at the national level, again, unprecedented and unpredictable time. Can I just say, what a first year to be my ED. You know, like I don't think any of us could have predicted a year ago that these are the challenges that we'd have to face. These are these whole new issues that we've never really had to address before, that were never issues before. So I do imagine we will be having more events in the future. And you know, now that I know that you folks are more interested in these kinds of events and connecting with them, so I'll make more of an effort to alert you folks about these events when I hear of them as well. But be sure to follow us on, in particular, our social media pages, our Twitter, so it's at Common Cause HI, and then at Facebook, Common Cause Hawaii, and you know, we'll be posting. It's easier. You can see more frequent updates there, so you can see events, and we share them from not just Common Cause events, but also from our, you know, community partners as well.
Yes. Another question. I
have a sign.
I think.
I have a sign. Follow us, please.
Another question that we got from the survey, was that long enough?
Yeah.
Was, does Common Cause Hawaii have a position on the proposition for a constitutional amendment overruling the Supreme Court of the United States Citizens United case? That's the first part of the question. I think that merits a response as well.
Yes. Would you want to ask the second part of the question? I can address that.
Okay, sure. The second part of the question is, why does Common Cause not support the move to amend proposal for a constitutional amendment that specifically ends corporate citizenship?
Okay, so for the first part of the question, does Common Cause have a position on overturning Citizens United? Yes, we do. Let's overturn it. It's as simple as that. I wish the process itself to overturning Citizens United was as simple as that, but you know, a constitutional amendment takes years and takes grassroots support from everybody across the nation to do it. And so we support the method path going through Congress to have them propose this amendment. And in that sense, Hawaii is actually fairly ahead of the curve in comparison to other states, because Hawaii was one of, if not the first state to come out right after the Citizens United decision to pass a resolution calling on Congress to overturn Citizens United. But additionally, since then, we've been able to work with our amazing volunteers across the state, in particular Ariana on Maui and Sandy on Kauai, who led the charges to have their the city councils, or county councils rather, pass resolutions as well. So, and then we also worked with Move to Amend Kona chapter to have the legislature renew their call for a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United just last year. So, I mean, Hawaii is the only state that the legislature and all of our counties are on record calling, to overturn Citizens United. So that's great. As for the second part of the question, how Common Cause, can you repeat that?
Sure, I will.
Sorry,
It's why does Common Cause not support the move to amend proposal for a constitutional amendment that specifically ends corporate citizenship?
Well, Common Cause, we do actually work with Move to Amend on certain things, and in fact, we helped, along with other stakeholders in the community, Common Cause, Move to Amend, they work together to actually craft the Democracy for All Amendment, which they're and all of us are supporting right now in Congress. Congress will see if that actually happens and takes action. We've seen all the stalemates on pretty much smallest issue to largest issues, so not exactly holding our breath for that at this instant. But we are very supportive of the Democracy for All Amendment, and the Democracy for All Amendment does basically three things. It authorizes Congress and the states to regulate and set reasonable limits on campaign spending. 2, and to enforce these limits, it authorizes Congress and the states to distinguish between corporations and other artificial entities and human beings, including banning corporate entities from spending money to influence our elections. And then 3, it makes clear that the amendment doesn't grant Congress or the states any ability to abridge the freedom of the press. And you have to recognize that this amendment was proposed before this current administration and all those attacks on the press right now. So I mean, this is pretty all-encompassing, and we do absolutely support this. I can't specifically speak to Move to Amend's proposal, except to say that there is, consensus behind the Democracy for All Amendment, including Common Cause, and that we do, support everyone, coming on board and helping us with that. And of course, money in politics, like many of the issues that we work on, are, they're so deep and they're so ingrained that we have to come at it from a multifaceted approach. There's no silver bullet. And so that includes, tightening up disclosure rules, being able to enforce the laws, public funding. So it's again, multifaceted, and we're working on all of these various paths.
Thank you, Corie.
Thanks, Elton.
Now we have a couple of more questions that have come into the chat box. I think I'll ask the latest one first, from Barbara. We have new leadership in the state legislature. Would it help if people contacted the new leadership and expressed concern about openness?
Yes.
I'm especially concerned about the ability of a single committee chair to veto a popular bill without even holding a vote.
Yes. Thank you for that question. Please. Yes, we do have new leadership. We're still meeting with them too. But it would absolutely help if you expressed your support for this, because we have to realize that, internally, both the House and the Senate, they do have their own rules. Unfortunately, we don't have any say in that because that's their internal rules, but they have these things, for example, like conflicts of interest. They have good rules on it. It's just they exempt themselves quite often from it. And I wouldn't say all the time, most often, a lot of times they exempt themselves. So, it's not that they need new, rules. They need to enforce the ones that they have. So if people can say, hey, we don't like when you're doing, just exempt everybody from conflicts of interest. And if you haven't, by the way, you should see, because it's so embarrassing for Hawaii. John Oliver, he ripped us basically on that. So, I mean, if you haven't seen it, Google the clip, John Oliver, Hawaii conflicts of interest, and you'll see. So we do want, and this is obviously a problem. We're getting made fun of, so we need to look for solutions. So if you can, please email them, call them, meet with them in person. And it means so much more, especially if you're their constituent. So please do.
Yes. Make noise, pots and pans.
Yeah, you let me know, and I'll if you need somebody to come with you with those pots and pans, I will. So just let me know.
So another question, this one from Ben. At the state and local level, is the change needed incremental or revolutionary? What are the options for incremental and wholesale change? What are the pros and cons of each? That's a very philosophical question, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. Elton, you're a philosophical person, so if you want to chime in, you feel free to.
I told you not to put me on.
I know, but I think this depends on the issue in particular, because some things, they can be done incrementally, and sometimes it's better to be done incrementally, because sometimes it's just too much of a change, people don't understand or why or things like that. So a lot of times we need time to do the education piece, whether it's for educating the public or educating, agencies themselves that need to enforce whatever the change is, right? But other times we do need, to be loud, like pots and pans and revolutionary. I think you saw some of that to a certain extent this year when they did the climate change bill, right? That Hawaii stood up for that. And, that was a revolutionary kind of thing, but it did start off as smaller calls to action. So, I mean, it's a little bit hard for us to answer in this, for me anyway, to answer in this really broad term. But I mean, the bottom line is we need everybody to take action. We need everybody to get involved and make their voices heard. Again, and whether it's through voting, whether it's through calling legislators, testifying, attending our events, serving on a board or commission. Like, there's so many different ways to get involved, to make your voices heard, and to improve our communities. So, just if you have any questions or anything we can help you with, please let us know. And
thank you, Ben.
And thanks, Ben, for sharing the John Oliver clip.
For the John Oliver link there. We still have a lot of time, so.
Yeah, it's going great, guys.
What do you think we should?
So, do you guys have any other questions? We do have.
I mean, there's a health.
You can try.
Really? There's a question about the single most effective strategy for getting money out of politics, and a suggestion that the best way to do that is to support Medicare for all, kind of a single payer sort of scenario, because some of the biggest lobbies are healthcare, the big pharma and other groups related to healthcare. The idea being that if they're no longer in their lobbying because it's single payer, then we've taken a lot of money out of politics.
Okay, I'll take a stab at this. So I think we already harped on that there is no silver bullet to getting money out of politics. This is multifaceted issue, and it's going to take us a while, but we are in it for the long haul, absolutely, and we hope you guys are too. As for the Medicare for all single payer, I don't know why I can't say that, but you know what I'm talking about. So Medicare for all bill. Common Cause, we don't officially have a position on it. Again, our issues and our mission is more for process-related issues. But, again, it does come down to getting money out of politics and making your voice heard. And I think a lot of these issues that other questions I bring up, again, they're issues that are really, really important to you, and as they should be, and we're not taking away from that at all. And in fact, again, we hope that you use, things that you learn from us, like how to testify or your connections that you may make to help you produce, work on these other issues that are outside of our scope. And then to that effect, there's actually starting a new program. It's called People's Lobby. So if you go to peopleslobby.cc, you can check it out. There's this new series of training videos that you can check out, and it teaches you things of like how to identify the issue, how to connect with like-minded folks, to power mapping. And so you can use those tools to, again, because I mean there's so many issues to choose from. There's so many, things to care about. Like, we know it's hard to prioritize. We have a hard time prioritizing. And I, personally, in our personal times, we work on different issues too that may not necessarily be related to Common Cause. Even though I am Miss Common Cause right now, so. But I mean, yeah, there's just so many things to care about. So I mean, for us, it's more about giving you guys the tools to be able to effectively advocate on whatever issues that might be close to your heart at this time.
Well said. I think I'll ask the question also from the survey. It's for another general question.
Okay.
How can I help to move your legislative agenda forward?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm going to play favorites. This is my favorite question because this is what we always harp about. It's about taking action. It's always about people power. That's how we effectuate change. It's never going to be me and Elton, I mean, it was funny the other day, somebody was like, oh yeah, you're a high powered lobbyist. And I was like looking around going like, and they're like, no, you. And I was like, oh, thanks. So no, I don't think I am by any means, but it's always going to come back to, community support and what is best for us, the people. So what you can do, I think the easiest first steps, if you're not already on my list, email me, hawaii@commoncause.org. I have a personal email action alert list. There's no official name. Sometimes call it action alert, sometimes we call it quick response, but it's my personal list. And it allows me to give you really quick email updates of what's going on. And it's usually only sent during legislative session. So I try my best not to spam you at all possible, but it's really basic emails, quick, down and dirty. Here's the bill. Here's the hearing notice. These are some talking points. This is why we think that this is, something that we need to either be supportive of, or, more frequently, I think we've had to play defense more than not. Yeah. But there's that, so, and then we give you, some instructions on how to submit testimony. And so like that, I think that helps with a lot of people because, I mean, how are you supposed to keep track of over 3,000 bills every year? So it just helps us to flag it for you. And yes, I do agree. And I see a comment in the stuff. It's not just taking action, but talking to your networks, your friends, your family, everyone. Like even if it's just one or two people, but those one or two people can affect another one or two people, and it's educating them because as I said earlier in this webinar, I do think there is a big disconnect of like a lot of people, they're just like, oh, that doesn't affect me, and they just ignore it, and it's so easy to do. Or they're like, okay, I clicked like on Facebook, I did my part. No, you need to tell them like that doesn't do anything. I mean, it's nice. I like when we get likes, because we don't get that many. Not all the time, sometimes we do. But, we do need to, take that slacktivism, if you will, and have them actually be activists.
Yeah, I want to, for what it's worth, endorse that action list that Corie has put out since she's been an ED. I mean, I certainly made a lot of use of that during legislative session. It's very helpful to know exactly what to, where to send my testimony and some ideas about the issues. So I appreciate that very much. As a board member, I hope our other members make use of that. And
then if, of course, you're working on other issues that we're not specifically working on, and if you have like procedural questions or anything, feel free to ask me. Happy to help you, or I'll point you in the right direction. And then, of course, public access room. They don't pay me, but I plug them all the time because I also ask them for help on procedural questions and things like that. So, there are resources out there in the community to get involved. And we hope that you do in some way, shape, or form. And again, not just talking about issues, but hey, making sure that your neighbor goes out and votes. It's as simple as it can be as simple as that. But we hope that everybody takes it to the next level.
Indeed. You know me, I'm into these great quotes from our founding fathers and so on. So I'm going to just do a little commercial here. Madison in the Federalist 45 wrote, nice, my apologies.
Shame, Elton. Just kidding.
Okay, so he wrote, James Madison, really the main author of the Constitution of the United States. The public good, the real welfare of the great body of the people is the supreme object of government. The reason I think that's important is there are schools of thought who think that the Constitution is all about individual rights, and there is definitely a huge component in our Constitution focused on that. Bill of Rights was incorporated, but I just want to mention that the sort of common cause effort to improve public welfare generally and public interest is a very big part of what it is to be a democracy and to have a common cause and a common interest. Our questions have sort of petered out, but if you want, we can we could end it just a little early, but
before we do, I just wanted to say a couple of quick questions. We do have one more question. Is there a Common Cause Hawaii checklist for citizen involvement? Not yet, but we're working on it. No, seriously. And it could start, again, there's so many different ideas, and we were actually discussing this as a board recently, and there was, what was that, the 101 list of actions, so we're modifying it for
nonviolent action.
Sharp. I think so. But we're still in the process of, what would be applicable for us here versus, sometimes the things not. So, but before we close, I do want to say thank you to all of you who took the time to join us today, because we are, again, more communication. So this is the first time that we are doing a member webinar of this type. So, and so again, we're looking at new ways to try and communicate better. I mean, neighbor island people, friends and family, I hear you. Like my aunties, they even scold me too, like, oh, you're Oahu-centric. And I'm like, yes, I know. So I'm working on it, and we are working on it. That's why we're making more of an effort to live stream our events and things like that. So, so we're going to be sending out, or I'll be sending out a survey probably sometime tomorrow about this webinar to see how you folks liked it and so forth. And, we can tweak things, and, if you guys, hopefully you didn't, but if you hated it, then, maybe we wouldn't continue with this, or we would do a different format, or we can adjust accordingly. So please keep an eye out for that survey. It really does. We do absolutely take everything to heart. And I read every single one of your survey answers for the other one. So and I responded to, I think, the few of you that did have questions. So, and if you have questions about anything else, feel free to email me, hawaii@commoncause.org. It absolutely comes to me, and I do respond. So.
Thanks, Corie.
Thanks, Elton.
We really appreciate your input, and it was great feedback today. We just wanted to let you just say a few things in closing here. In troubled times, important fundamental work, ground work to strengthen our democracy. But we do have only one staff person, or the amazing Corie, and I just wanted to encourage all of you to really contribute your time and financial support to Common Cause Hawaii. You're a huge part of this. The board is a hardworking board. We meet every month, and we do take this very seriously, but we do need your help. and it's been great to see some feedback today. You've helped us accomplish a lot, and we're excited about the work before us in an unpredictable time. I think we could might as well just show the.
Look, I made a sign, everybody. Oh, so our Facebook,
so the website.
Common Cause Hawaii, Twitter, Common Cause HI, and website hi.commoncause.org.
And email hawaii@commoncause.org. I guess you don't have that one on there. I'm going to leave you with a quote from John Gardner, the founder of Common Cause, back in 1970. Another quote: "Only the citizen can bring our political and governmental institutions back to life, make them responsive and accountable, and keep them honest. No one else can." Thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Aloha.